Hey, Peanut Butter Falcon's out on Netflix. Have you checked it out yet?
Yeah.
Really? It's supposed to be really good disability representation. Why?
So it is pretty well written in terms of like emotionally compelling and great performances. And, you know, it's not super harmful compared to how disability is historically represented, but I still have major issues.
Okay, I want to know how you can have any criticisms of it. I thought it was great.
All right, so spoilers. At the beginning, Zach has a lot of agency, right?
The Down syndrome character. Hell yeah. He plans and orchestrates his own escape. Like, we see his creativity, his drive, his independence.
And how he's kept trapped by people who don't listen to him or let him have agency.
Exactly. So what's the problem?
After Zach meets Tyler...
Shia LaBeouf.
Right. What decisions does Zach make for himself? Where does he have agency over the plot? Where does he decide where he chooses to go? What he chooses to do?
I mean, he convinces Tyler to take him to wrestling school.
No, he doesn't. Zach tells Tyler his plan, and then later Tyler decides that he'll take Zach for somewhat selfish reasons. There's no persuading that Zach does. And also, think about that. Zach doesn't make the decision. After meeting Tyler, he doesn't take action to go there himself. He's portrayed as not being able to have agency and is in fact bullied by a little kid and shown he can't even handle that without outside intervention. The writing demonstrates that he isn't capable from here on out and becomes a passive character that is dependent and subservient to Tyler's whims and abuse.
Abuse?
Tyler yells at Zach, ignores Zach's needs, including pants and shoes, even though Tyler has extra. And he exerts authoritarian rule over all of Zach's decisions.
But isn't that the character's arc that, like, Tyler learns Zach's worth?
So why not have Zach reject Tyler, go off on his own, and Tyler see how capable he can be? Instead, we get a codependent relationship. Why not tell the story from Zach's point of view?
It does.
Does it? I mean, Zach doesn't exert his agency. He doesn't rebel. He doesn't elope. He doesn't make any sort of plans. He's perpetually silenced by Tyler, told what to do, how to do it, and then given life lessons from someone who should not be giving life lessons.
Oh shit, I didn't realize how passive Zach is through the whole story.
Because this is still an improvement over typical disability representation, where they usually show even less agency.
But wait, doesn't it get better as the movie goes on?
No, it gets worse. Once Eleanor shows up, Tyler and Eleanor continue to silence Zach, making decisions for him. What's worse is it writes these moments as comedic bits. First on the beach, when Eleanor first shows up and Zach is pushed into the background, being funny in his underwear.
Though that is one time that Zach demonstrates his agency.
True, he throws Eleanor's keys in the water, but just a few minutes later they have him dunk his head underwater so they can talk about him behind his back.
Not long enough, Zach. Do it again.
I hadn't read it that way the first time I saw it, but now I can't unsee it. They had him catch a freaking fish with his bare hands for a funny moment to hide how horrible the characters were treating him. Like, they're no better than the nursing home he escaped from.
Right? They keep having conversations without him, reinforcing the perspective to the audience that he shouldn't have say or agency.
Tyler was at least standing up for him and what Zach wanted.
So even though Tyler is advocating for Zach's desires, we're showing the audience that Zach needs someone to advocate for him. That Zach is incapable of speaking for himself and should not be allowed to make his own decisions, should not be listened to directly because it is dangerous without someone there to overrule him. Which is, like at the beginning of the film, what seemed to be the theme that they were going to dismantle. Instead, they reinforced it, with Zach's character being relegated to becoming a comedic prop.
But I mean, humor isn't something that should be avoided in disability representation. Like,
disabled people can be funny, tell jokes. but not be the butt of the joke. Take the shotgun gag, where Zach flies back 20 feet. It's completely unrealistic and paints him as silly and incompetent. And what's the deal with him being in his underwear all the time?
Come on, that made sense in the plot.
Why did Tyler give him a shirt but withhold the pants he had in his bag until much later? Why have Zach take off his clothes again so he's in his underwear on the beach? Or why did he only put his shirt on when Eleanor showed up? You would think it'd be the other way around. Why not have Shia LaBeouf's character end up in his underwear for comedic effect?
Because it's funnier when the disabled character is awkward.
It's a trope. Having disabled people in underwear, even for comedic effect, isn't in itself automatically bad. The original plot device was fine, where he has to take his clothes off to get through the bars. But how it was made into a running gag and put together with the rest of the representation,
it paints Zach as a wide-eyed, comical, literal dolt that we're supposed to laugh at.
Laugh at, not with. Zach doesn't find it funny. He's not hanging out in his underwear or flying back from the shotgun blast to make you laugh. And this is subtle representation of how Zach is framed to the audience in ways to make us pity him rather than to make us empathize with him. We don't see this journey from his point of view. The film's perspective directs us to empathize with Tyler and makes Tyler, and by extension us, the abled saviors.
Damn, you're right.
After Zach meets Tyler, he stops being the main character and takes a back seat in the story. The writing turns Zach into the MacGuffin.
MacGuffin?
An object around which the plot revolves. Think the One Ring in The Lord of the Rings, or Private Ryan in Saving Private Ryan.
Oh shit, so like Private Ryan was hardly even a character in the story. He was just
the plot device that serves as the goal and the catalyst of change of the main characters.
Tyler's the main character just trying to get Zach to the wrestling school.
Think about it. When they finally get to the wrestling school, Zach, who has been a mega superfan, who previously in the film is shown to lack the ability to hold back his enthusiasm, doesn't even go to the door. The writers silence him, have him stand far away, and then instead have Tyler go to the door and speak for him.
They silence him all the way through, don't they?
And there's a few other issues I had, like implying that Zach's medication, which is said to regulate his blood sugar, you know, something that could potentially be deadly, isn't necessary, and that breathing exercises is all that's needed.
Yeah, that's not good. And they also did the blind magical Negro trope, which is problematic on a number of levels, right?
And then the whole relationship between Tyler and Eleanor is just gross. Tyler is misogynistic, creepy, rude, and a literal criminal who's poaching and is an arsonist who does nothing redeeming the entire film other than show the barest human decency on a couple of occasions. But then he also handcuffs Eleanor to a steering wheel to prevent her from having agency. Like, ugh!
I'm noticing a theme in this film, and I'm not liking it.
That it's okay to take someone's agency away if you know better than them, especially if you're a white abled dude. Like, what does Eleanor see in Tyler?
And she throws away her life to be with him.
To be in a codependent relationship with him. So, yeah, it's possible to make an emotionally compelling film that is also incredibly problematic on a number of levels, even though it's better than a lot of the representations we've seen.